Hello, this presentation is going to be going over traveling internationally as an F-1 student. This is part of our F-1 immigration status webinar series that you can find on our webpage and YouTube channel as well. Quick disclaimer, the content from today's presentation only reflects current ISSC advisement. For more current updates and any sort of updates that might have happened, feel free to check out those at our webpage, issc.asu.edu. This presentation is going to be going over things to consider before traveling, some sort of questions you should be asking yourself, the documents you will want to take while traveling. We'll dive deep into how to request those documents that you might need, or how to retrieve those documents. Um, Emphasis on duration of travel, some recommendations for OPT students, and we'll also touch on port of entry experiences as well, with some common questions at the end. So some things to consider before traveling. Is your travel essential and worth the risk of issues with travel and re-entry to the US? You want to make sure that you really take this question to consideration and know the possible risks associated with traveling that might exist at that time, as well as the time that you're going to be re-entering as well. You want to make sure if this is something that's essential and worth the risk of having issues arise. And if you're going to be graduating, considering pursuing an post OPT, will you be back in the US in time to apply as well? So you want to make sure that you're not putting your being able to pursue your academic degree program, as well as putting your post OPT in jeopardy by this travel, and really taking all of the risks into consideration before making travel decisions. Additionally, regarding the visas, you want to make sure that you know whether you're going to be needing a visa for the country you're visiting. So if this is a country you're visiting for the first time, does this country have certain travel restrictions or visa requirements before you engage in that travel? Also, do you yourself need a visa, an F-1 visa to be renewed before you re-enter the US? Is the embassy open in the country that you're going to be visiting and accepting F-1 student of visa appointments at that time? Again, and if you're unable to return to the US due to travel restrictions or embassy closures, can you continue your degree program from your home country, or must you return to the US to continue? Again, all questions you should be asking yourself and considering, planning ahead to make sure that your re-entry into the US isn't jeopardized by you departing and engaging in traveling, and you have all the documents necessary to pursue any sort of visa renewal, having a visa appointment, and know the specific case for not just you yourself as an F-1 student, but from a specific student from your home country. So you want to make sure that you take all of these into consideration before engaging in traveling and planning accordingly, with the ISSC's assistance as needed. Some documents for current students that you're going to want to make sure that you have before engaging in traveling. So we do have the required documents like your passport, which should be valid 6 months into the future. You want to make sure you have your F-1 visa stamp as well, and a current I-20 with the valid travel signature. Travel signatures are valid for 1 year. So if you got one for a previous break, but you're still within that 1 year, by the time that you're going to be re-entering into the US, you would be able to continue using that same travel signature. Additionally, we do have suggested documents as well, to avoid any concerns or risks while at the port of entry. Having copies of your unofficial transcripts and enrollment verification forms from ASU. These obviously show your enrollment at ASU. Um, Additionally, you can have your ASU Sun card or have your mobile ID, as sort of proof of being a student at Arizona State University. We also have on our travel webpage as well, which you can download the next two following letters as well. We have first the ASU travel letter and a letter from our legal partners fragment. So both of these additional support supplement documents that you can have while traveling, one showing that supplement document information from your institution and the other from your legal partners representing you as an F-1 student at ASU. So regarding that I-20 travel signature, all F-1 students and their dependents are required to have valid travel signatures upon their reentry. So that travel signature is located on that second page of your I-20. And again, for current students, that's going to be valid for 1 year. For students on OPT or STEM OPT, that travel signature is going to be valid for only 6 months. So you want to make sure that you know when your last travel I-20 signature was issued. That way you know whether you need to reapply for a new one for the new travel you're going to be doing, or whether you're already covered with that previous travel signature. To request a travel signature, you'll submit the replacement and travel I-20 e-form through the My ISSC e-form portal. For students that are on OPT, we do have those similar required documents, your passport, valid F-1 visa, current I-20 with that valid travel signature, valid for 6 months. But additionally, you'll want to make sure that you absolutely have your EAD card when you are traveling on OPT. So again, that's the employment authorization document that you'll be given once you're approved for OPT, essentially your authorization to work in the US. You're going to want to make sure you have that in your hand at the port of entry when you're re-entering the US. Some suggested documents for OPT students are a copy of your job offer letter um, that can kind of show those details of the specific employment that you have in the US. Additionally, you can download the ASU travel letter, which is also located on our travel webpage as well. Um, as sort of a supplement document to have when you do travel. Additionally, if you're going to be traveling for more than 30 days, something we do recommend OPT students have is a letter from their employer explaining their employment status and the nature of their employment activities while they're outside of the US. So again, being approved for OPT, you are being approved to work within the US and for US-based employers. So any sort of travel that does exceed those 30 days, while allowed and permissible, you're just going to want to make sure it doesn't raise any red flags or concerns at the port of entry, which is why our office recommends having that letter from the direct employer that you are working for. Additional recommendations for OPT students. Again, just reiterating, if it's going to be over the 30 days, but again, not exceeding the 5 months that maximum that students can spend outside the US. Having that letter from their employer, which speaks a little bit more closely to the nature of their employment that they have on OPT, and their activities that they're doing outside and with the company more broadly. And if you're going to be traveling while your OPT application is pending, this is something the ISSC does not recommend doing. We only recommend traveling once your OPT is approved and when you have received that physical EAD card in your hand, just because that is something that you're going to be needing once you do re-enter the US. Traveling while your application is pending can both jeopardize your ability to get approved for OPT, but also at the same time jeopardize your ability to have that EAD card in your hand upon your reentry. So a few things you can expect at the port of entry. There will be a document check. So U.S. immigration officials will review your documents and can ask you any sort of general questions upon your entry into the US. So it's a good reminder to stay calm, answer the questions as clear and honest and politely as you can. Secondary inspection is a possibility for any um, individual at the port of entry. So if you, as an F-1 student, are asked to step into a side room, this is a standard procedure for additional questions or verification. You want to make sure, again, you stay calm, present the documents you have, um, and again, reiterating answering any questions clearly, honestly, and politely as well. Some additional things to take into consideration as well is U.S. immigration officials at the port of entry may check your social media. Um, so when they're reviewing your immigration status and eligibility to enter the US, they can look at any posts, comments, photos, your friends lists, anything essentially that you share online, they could review upon your at the port of entry. So again, just a reminder to be cautious who you are friends with online, across all of your social media platforms. Um, do not accept friend requests from people you do not know. Again, thinking before you do post, should any post have any sort of implications on your F-1 immigration status, be thoughtful about what you post or share. Review your devices, so check any of your stored documents on the device, included deleted files as well. Officers may ask you to unlock your device and could take it if you refuse. But again, you will not be required to provide any of your passwords, um, but you may be asked certain questions regarding any sort of content shared online by yourself through any of your social media platforms, or again, anything that's public out there. If you do encounter a problem at the port of entry, you can suggest that immigration officer to contact one of two contacts. ASU does have a 24/7 support line, or if it's during business hours when you are at the port of entry, you can also suggest that immigration officer contact ASU's ISSC office. So both of those contact numbers are on the screen right now. So again, depending on when that travel is being done, you can suggest those two numbers. This information can be found on the ASU travel letter that hopefully you have printed and have with you on that travel and can show the immigration officer to contact. And that letter again can be found on our webpage. Some common questions our ISSC office does get. So can I enter the US after the semester start date? So for initial students, you can arrive in the US up to 30 days before that program start date on your I-20. If you have any inclination that you won't be able to arrive by that start date on your I-20, we do recommend you contact that admissions office for assistance in case of deferral, if you're still eligible for a deferral into a future semester, or what sort of options you might be able to receive at that point. But again, for any initial student, you want to be here by that start date. For continuing students, it's going to be always recommended that students are returned to campus if they're traveling during a break by the first day of classes. If arriving after the semester starts, you're just going to have to be ready to explain your late arrival to that immigration officer at the port of entry. But again, the ISSC will never recommend students traveling while classes are in session. Your studies should be your priority, and your in-person presence, as well as your in-person attendance to your courses, should obviously take priority. So you're going to want to make sure that you're here by that first day of classes and while the semester is in session. How can I get a travel signature? So again, you can submit that replacement and travel I-20 e-form through the ISSC e-form portal and follow the step-by-step instructions on there. Once you click the submit button, you'll see a screen indicating that you've successfully submitted your request. There'll be a quiz followed by an e-form. Just ensure that you complete both of them. It's also important to consider that ISSC does have a maximum of 7 business day processing time. Um, So you want to make sure that you plan accordingly and give our office enough time to fulfill the Travel Light 20 requests for all of ASU students, and you take our processing time into consideration as well. And lastly, should I travel while my OPT application is pending? So this one we also talked about as well, but this is something that the ISSC will not recommend and should be undertaken with caution, but avoided if possible. So if your OPT application is approved while you're outside the US, you must have your EAD card to re-enter. Should there be any issues retrieving that EAD card and having that in hand by the time you re-enter, that could obviously jeopardize your ability to return to the US and fulfill that OPT. So again, traveling with caution if your OPT application is pending. Um, so having your EAD card mailed to you internationally does come with those risks. If your EAD card is lost, your opportunity for OPT can be lost entirely. So you do want to take into consideration that those huge risks are possible if you do travel while your OPT application is pending. So definitely avoid if possible. If you have any additional questions regarding the topic, feel free to contact our office through email, calling our office, in person or virtual advising. Both of the schedules can be found on our webpage for immigration advising. And again, you can join us for any future events in the future, any future webinars we might have live, or information that you can find on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you.